I sacrificed love for career today. I have millions but no one by my side. I made a choice. That's the first thing I need you to understand, because it's important to acknowledge that what happened to my life wasn't an accident, wasn't bad luck, wasn't something that was done to me by external circumstances. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look. 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. I made a deliberate, conscious choice, and then I made that same choice over and over again for decades, and now at 67 years old, sitting alone in my expensive apartment with millions of dollars in the bank and not a single person who cares whether I live or die, I have to face the devastating reality that I chose wrong. Every single time I chose wrong. And now it's too late to undo any of it. Too late to go back and make different choices. Too late to build the life I should have built while I was busy building a career and a fortune that ultimately mean absolutely nothing. The first time I made the choice, I was 25 years old. Her name was Jennifer, and she was the first woman I ever loved, the first person who made me understand what all those songs and poems and movies were talking about when they talked about being in love. We met in my first year working at a consulting firm in Boston. She was a graphic designer at a small agency in the same building, and we literally ran into each other in the lobby one morning when I was rushing to get to a meeting and not paying attention to where I was going. I knocked the coffee right out of her hand. It went everywhere, ruined her white blouse, and I was mortified. I apologized profusely, offered to pay for dry cleaning, for a new blouse, whatever she needed, and she just laughed. She had this incredible laugh, loud and genuine and uninhibited, and she said, "It's fine, really. I hated this blouse anyway. My mom gave it to me and I only wear it to make her happy." And then she looked at me with these bright green eyes and said, "But you owe me a coffee now. How about you buy me one after work to make up for it?" That coffee turned into dinner, which turned into a second date, which turned into 6 months of the happiest time of my life up to that point. Jennifer was everything I wasn't. Spontaneous, creative, unworried about the future, fully present in every moment. She painted, she took photography classes, she went to concerts and art galleries. She had this whole rich life full of experiences and interests and passions beyond her job. And for those 6 months she pulled me into that world. We'd go to museums on Saturday afternoons. She'd drag me to indie rock shows at tiny venues where I felt completely out of place, but loved watching her dance. We'd spend Sunday mornings in bed just talking and laughing and making love, and I felt like I was finally learning how to actually live, instead of just working and sleeping and working some more. But the thing is, the consulting firm where I worked had a brutal culture. 80-hour weeks were standard. Weekend work was expected, and if you wanted to move up, if you wanted to make it to partner track, you had to show that you were willing to sacrifice everything for the job. And I wanted that. I wanted it desperately. I had come from a working-class background, had student loans to pay off, had something to prove to myself and to the world. So when Jennifer started asking me to skip work events to spend time with her, when she wanted me to take a Friday off so we could go away for a long weekend, when she got upset that I was cancelling dates because of last-minute work emergencies, I started to resent it. Not her exactly, but the pressure, the feeling that I was being forced to choose between my relationship and my career goals. The ultimatum came on a Tuesday night. We were supposed to have dinner at her apartment. I was 2 hours late because of a client meeting that ran long, and when I finally got there, she was sitting on her couch with tears streaming down her face. She looked at me and said, "I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm competing with your job and losing every single time. I need to know that I matter to you, that we matter to you. So here's what I need. I need you to start leaving work at a reasonable hour at least 3 nights a week. I need you to actually take weekends off sometimes. I need you to prioritize us. Not just when it's convenient, but actually prioritize us. If you can't do that, if your job is always going to come first, then we need to end this because I can't keep feeling like an afterthought in your life." I remember sitting there looking at her crying, feeling this pull of love and guilt and wanting to say yes, wanting to promise her that I would change, that she was more important than any job. But then another thought came, loud and clear and seemingly rational. If I start leaving work early, if I start taking weekends off, I'll fall behind. My colleagues who are putting in the hours will get ahead of me. I'll miss opportunities. I'll damage my reputation as someone who's dedicated and reliable. And once you fall behind in this industry, it's almost impossible to catch up. I'm only 25. I have decades ahead of me. I can focus on my career now, get established, and then later, when I'm more secure, I can focus on relationships. Jennifer is great, but if it doesn't work out with her, there will be other women later. But this opportunity at the firm, this chance to build my career, that won't wait. So I told her no. I told her that I couldn't make those promises, that my career was at a critical stage, that I needed to focus on work right now. I suggested that maybe we could revisit things in a year or two when I was more established. She looked at me like I had slapped her. She said, "You're choosing your job over me. You're really choosing your job over me." And I said yes. I said yes, I'm choosing my job, because that's what makes sense right now. She asked me to leave. I did. We never spoke again. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved to New York a few months later, eventually got married, had kids. And I told myself I had made the right choice, the mature choice, the smart choice. I was wrong, but I wouldn't understand that for another 42 years. The breakup with Jennifer hurt. I'm not going to pretend it didn't, but I buried the pain in work. I threw myself into my projects with even more intensity, worked even longer hours, made myself indispensable to the partners at the firm. And it worked, at least by the metrics I was using to measure success. I got promoted ahead of my peers. My salary increased. I started getting recognition in the industry. By the time I was 30, I was making 6 figures and being mentioned as someone on the partner track. I had achieved what I set out to achieve by sacrificing my relationship with Jennifer. So clearly I had made the right choice. That's what I told myself. I didn't date much in my late 20s. I was too busy, too focused, and honestly, I was gun-shy after the Jennifer situation. I didn't want to get into another relationship that would create the same conflict, the same pressure to choose between love and career. It was easier to just avoid it altogether. I had a few casual things, women I met at work events or through friends, but nothing serious, nothing that required real emotional investment or time commitment. And I was fine with that. Or at least I told myself I was fine with that. Then I met Sarah. I was 32, she was 30, and we met at a conference in Chicago. She was a manager at a competing firm, brilliant and ambitious and driven in the same way I was. We connected immediately, spent the entire conference talking between sessions, had dinner together every night, and by the end of the week, there was clearly something there. She lived in Chicago, I was in Boston, but we started a long-distance thing. Emails every day, phone calls every night, flying back and forth to see each other on weekends when we could manage it. For about 6 months, it was great. Sarah understood the demands of my job because she had the same demands. She didn't get upset when I had to cancel plans for work emergencies because she did the same thing. We talked about our careers, about our ambitions, about the projects we were working on. It felt like a partnership between equals, between two people who were both focused on success and understood what that required. I started to think that maybe this could work long-term, that maybe I had found someone I could build a life with without having to sacrifice my career goals. But then things started to shift. Sarah started talking about the future, about what a real relationship between us would look like. She suggested that maybe one of us should relocate so we could actually be in the same city, actually build a life together, instead of just seeing each other occasionally on weekends. And she was right, of course. A long-distance relationship where we only saw each other once or twice a month wasn't sustainable long-term. If we were going to be serious, one of us needed to move. The problem was I was up for a major promotion at my firm, senior manager, significant raise, real responsibility, a clear path to partner within 5 years. If I left Boston, if I left my firm, I'd be starting over somewhere else, losing all the ground I'd gained, all the relationships I'd built, all the momentum I'd created. And Sarah was in a similar position at her firm in Chicago. Neither of us wanted to be the one to sacrifice our career for the relationship. We both thought the other person should be the one to move, to compromise, to put the relationship first. We fought about it for months, long, painful phone calls where we'd go in circles, both of us making the same arguments, neither of us willing to budge. And somewhere in those months of fighting, something broke between us. The easy connection we'd had at the beginning was gone, replaced by resentment and frustration, and the growing realization that we were fundamentally incompatible in our priorities. She wanted me to prove that she mattered more than my career. I wanted her to understand that asking me to sacrifice my career wasn't fair or reasonable. The end came on a Sunday afternoon phone call. She said, "I love you, but I can't keep doing this. I need to be with someone who's willing to prioritize the relationship, who's willing to make compromises and sacrifices. And I don't think you're that person. I think your career will always come first." And I said, "You're right. My career does come first. I'm 32 years old. I'm on the verge of a major promotion that I've been working toward for 7 years. I'm not going to throw that away for a relationship that might not even work out. If you can't understand that, then maybe we're not right for each other." So we ended it, and just like with Jennifer, I told myself I had made the right choice, the rational choice. I couldn't sacrifice my career for a relationship, especially not one that was still relatively new, that hadn't been tested long-term. The promotion came through 3 months later. I moved into a bigger apartment, bought a new car, started building my investment portfolio seriously. My net worth was growing, my career was thriving, and I was single and focused and telling myself that this was exactly where I needed to be. I was wrong again, but again, I didn't know it yet. My 30s passed in a blur of work and accumulation. The promotion to senior manager led to more responsibility, longer hours, more travel. I was on a plane every week, living in hotels, eating meals alone in airport restaurants, building relationships with clients but not with actual human beings in my personal life. I made a lot of money. I invested wisely. My net worth crossed $500,000, then $1 million. I bought a condo, furnished it expensively, barely spent any time there. I was successful by every external measure, and I was completely, utterly alone. But I told myself that was temporary, that once I made partner, once I reached that next level of financial security, then I would focus on my personal life. Then I would find someone, settle down, build the family life that had always been part of the vague someday in the back of my mind. I made partner at 39. It was the culmination of 15 years of sacrifice and dedication, and the day it was announced, I should have been elated. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a vague sense that I should keep going, keep climbing, keep achieving. There was always another goal, another milestone. Making partner wasn't the end, it was just another step. So I kept working, kept accumulating, kept telling myself that happiness was just around the next corner, after the next achievement, after the next financial milestone. That's when I made the third and final choice, though at the time I didn't recognize it as a choice at all. I was 40 years old, and a woman named Lisa, who worked in a different department at my firm, asked me out. She was younger, 33, smart and funny, and interested in me for reasons I couldn't quite understand. We went to dinner, had a good time, and she made it clear she wanted to see me again. And I remember very clearly thinking, I don't have time for this. I'm in a critical phase of my career, just made partner, need to prove myself, need to bring in new clients, need to manage my team effectively. A relationship would be a distraction. It would take time and energy that I need to invest in my career. And besides, I'm 40 years old and I've made it this far without a serious relationship. Do I really need one now? Maybe I'm just not a relationship person. Maybe some people are meant to focus on career and achievement instead of love and family. Maybe that's okay, so I turned her down. Politely but firmly, I told her I was flattered but not in a place in my life where I could commit to a relationship. She looked disappointed but not surprised, and we kept things professional at work after that. And that was it. That was the last time a woman showed genuine interest in me, the last time I had an opportunity to build something real with another person. I was 40 years old, and I didn't know it at the time, but that was the moment the door closed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but it closed nonetheless. My 40s and 50s were more of the same pattern, just with bigger numbers. More money, more success, more recognition in my field, more emptiness. I stopped thinking about relationships altogether. When colleagues talked about their spouses and their kids, I tuned it out. When I was invited to weddings or baby showers, I found excuses not to go. I created a life that was entirely focused on work and wealth accumulation, and I convinced myself that this was enough, that I didn't need the messy complications of romantic relationships and family obligations. But something started to happen as I got older, as I moved through my 50s and into my 60s. I started to see my colleagues retiring, see them talking about traveling with their spouses, spending time with grandchildren, looking forward to this next chapter of life surrounded by family. And I started to feel something I hadn't allowed myself to feel before: envy and fear. Because I was looking at my own future, and it was empty. There would be no spouse to travel with, no children to visit, no grandchildren to dote on, just me alone with my money and my empty condo and my meaningless career achievements. I retired at 63, not because I wanted to, but because the firm was restructuring and offering generous packages to senior partners. I took the money, which pushed my net worth well over $5 million, and suddenly I had nothing but time and no idea how to fill it. For 40 years, work had been my identity, my purpose, my reason for existing. Without it, I was nobody. Just a rich old man with nothing to do and no one to do it with. The loneliness that I had successfully ignored for decades came crashing down on me in retirement. I had no friends, not real ones. I had work contacts, professional relationships. But once I retired, those calls and emails stopped. I had no family beyond some distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in decades. I had no hobbies, no interests, no passions beyond work. I had built a life that was entirely dependent on my career, and now that my career was over, there was nothing left. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look. 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free, and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video you'll find more stories like this one. I'm 67 years old now, and I'm sitting in my expensive condo looking back at my life with a clarity that's agonizing. I can see now, with perfect hindsight, all the moments where I made the wrong choice. Jennifer at 25, giving me an ultimatum, and me choosing work. Sarah at 32, asking me to compromise, and me refusing. Lisa at 40, showing interest and me turning her down because I thought I was too busy for love. Each of those moments was a fork in the road, a chance to choose differently, and every single time I chose career over connection. And at the time, those choices seemed rational, seemed smart, seemed like what a serious, ambitious person should do, but they weren't smart. They were catastrophically stupid. They were the worst choices I could have possibly made. Because here's what I understand now that I didn't understand then. Career success is temporary and ultimately meaningless. The promotions I worked so hard for, they're forgotten now. The projects I sacrificed relationships for, they've been replaced by new projects done by new people. The money I accumulated, it sits in accounts generating more money that I'll never spend, that will go to the government in taxes when I die because I have no one to leave it to. None of it matters. None of it was worth what I sacrificed to get it. What matters, what actually makes life worth living, is connection, love, intimacy. Having people in your life who know you and care about you and choose to be with you, not because they have to, but because they want to. I don't have any of that. I never have. I'm 67 years old, and I've never experienced real romantic love beyond those 6 months with Jennifer when I was 25. I've never lived with a partner, never built a life with someone, never experienced the daily intimacy of sharing space and routines and dreams with another person. I've never had children, never held my own baby, never watched a child grow up, never had the experience of being a parent with all its challenges and rewards. I've never had grandchildren. I've never been part of a family beyond my childhood family, and I barely maintained contact with them over the years because I was always too busy with work. And yes, At 67, I'm still a virgin. Not in the technical sense, maybe. I've had a few casual sexual encounters over the years, meaningless hookups that only made me feel more alone, but virgin in the sense that matters. I've never made love with someone I actually loved, someone who loved me back. I've never experienced real sexual intimacy, the kind that comes from deep emotional connection and vulnerability. I've never known what it's like to be fully known by another person and fully accepted. I've protected myself so thoroughly from that kind of vulnerability for so long that now I don't even know how to access it. I built walls to keep people out, and now I'm trapped inside those walls with no way to break them down. The realization of what I've done, what I've lost, what I'll never have, it hits me in waves. Sometimes I'm sitting alone in my condo, eating dinner by myself like I do every night, and I'll be overwhelmed by this crushing sense of despair. I wasted my life. I spent 67 years focused on things that don't matter while ignoring the things that do. I made choice after choice after choice that pushed me further into isolation, and I told myself I was being smart and strategic, when really I was just being a coward, afraid of vulnerability, afraid of being hurt, afraid of putting someone else's needs before my own ambition. My health has deteriorated significantly in the past few years. The stress and loneliness have taken their toll. I have high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. I had a minor heart attack last year, spent a week in the hospital with no visitors because there's no one to visit me. My doctors have made it clear that I need to prepare for declining independence, that I'll need care eventually. So I've done what wealthy, lonely old people do. I've researched assisted living facilities, toured the expensive ones, chosen one, signed the contract. It's beautiful, as such places go. Private apartment, gourmet meals, full medical staff, everything money can buy. I'll move there within the year. Will spend whatever time I have left surrounded by other wealthy, lonely old people, cared for by professional staff who are kind but indifferent, waiting to die. On weekends, I sometimes sit by my window and watch families walking by, parents with children, grandparents pushing strollers, teenagers laughing with their friends. I watch them, and I feel a pain so acute it's almost physical. That could have been me. Should have been me. If I had made different choices, if I had said yes to Jennifer and compromised on work to spend time with her, if I had been willing to move cities for Sarah, if I had taken a chance on Lisa instead of dismissing her as a distraction, if I had prioritized people over profit at any point in 40 years, I could have had that life. The life those families have. The life that includes love and connection and meaning. Instead, I have money. Millions of dollars that mean absolutely nothing because there's no one to share them with. No one who cares that I have them. No one who will inherit them or remember me after I'm gone. I think about my funeral sometimes. Who will be there? No spouse, no children, no grandchildren, no close friends because I never cultivated friendships. Maybe some former colleagues will show up out of professional courtesy, will shake their heads and say what a shame it is that I died alone, and then they'll go home to their families and forget about me entirely. The funeral home will handle everything because there's no family to make arrangements. I'll be cremated. My ashes will sit in a niche in a wall somewhere, and that will be the sum total of my existence. 67 years of life, 40 years of career success, millions of dollars, and all of it amounting to absolutely nothing in the end. The money I've accumulated will go mostly to taxes. Estate taxes will take a huge chunk. The rest will go to charities I'll designate in my will, organizations I have no real connection to, that will use my money for good causes and send thank you letters that no one will read. My life's work, all that accumulation, will be dispersed to strangers and the government within months of my death. And then I'll be forgotten completely, as if I never existed at all. Sometimes I allow myself to imagine what my life could have been. I imagine saying yes to Jennifer at 25, compromising on work hours, building a life with her, getting married, buying a house, having children, watching those children grow up, becoming grandparents together, growing old together. Being part of a family, part of something bigger than myself, having people who loved me and who I loved back, having relationships that deepened and matured over decades, having a reason to wake up in the morning beyond just getting through another day. Or I imagine choosing differently with Sarah at 32, taking the risk of moving to Chicago or asking her to move to Boston, figuring it out together because the relationship mattered more than either of our individual career trajectories, building a life together, maybe having kids, creating a family, having a partner through all the challenges and joys of life, not being alone, or even just saying yes to Lisa at 40, giving a relationship a chance even though it felt inconvenient, letting someone in, taking the risk of being vulnerable. Maybe it wouldn't have worked out long-term, but maybe it would have. Maybe it would have opened up possibilities I cut off by being too rigid, too focused, too afraid. But these are just fantasies. The reality is that I made my choices. I chose career over love over and over again, and now I have to live with the consequences. Or more accurately, die with them. Because that's what's coming, sooner rather than later given my health. Death. Alone in an assisted living facility. In a nice room with good care but no one who loves me. No hand to hold. No one to comfort me. No one to mourn me. Just the end of a wasted life. The title of this story is that I sacrificed love for career. That's accurate, but it's not complete. The more accurate title would be, I sacrificed everything that matters for things that don't matter, and now I'm old and dying and filled with regrets so profound, it's crushing me. I look back at my life, and I see a perfect example of success by conventional metrics, leading to absolute failure by the metrics that actually count. I have millions of dollars and no one by my side. I have career achievements that no one remembers and no relationships that endure. I have all this money and nothing to spend it on that brings joy. I have decades of discipline and hard work that led to a life not worth living. If I could go back, if I could talk to my 25-year-old self standing at that crossroads with Jennifer, what would I say? I would grab him by the shoulders, look him in the eyes and say, choose her, choose love. Yes, it will require compromises. Yes, your career might progress a little slower. Yes, you'll miss some opportunities. But none of that matters compared to what you'll gain. You'll gain a life worth living. You'll gain love and intimacy and connection. You'll gain someone to share your successes and your failures with. You'll gain the possibility of family, of children, of building something that lasts beyond your career. Choose her. Please, for the love of God, choose her. And I would tell my 32-year-old self to move to Chicago for Sarah, or to ask her to move to Boston, but to figure it out together because the relationship matters more than either of your individual career paths. I would tell him that being a senior manager versus a junior partner doesn't matter nearly as much as having someone to come home to at night, someone who knows you and loves you and chooses you. And I would tell my 40-year-old self to say yes to Lisa, to take a chance, to stop being so afraid of vulnerability and commitment, to understand that this might be the last opportunity, that 40 isn't young, that time is running out faster than he thinks. But I can't go back. I can't warn my younger self. I can't make different choices. All I can do is sit here in my expensive condo, surrounded by expensive things, completely alone, and regret, and warn others who might be making the same mistakes I made. If you're reading this and you're young, if you're facing a choice between career and love, if you're telling yourself that you can focus on career now and relationships later, please stop. Please reconsider. Please learn from my catastrophic failure. Yes, career matters. Yes, financial security matters. Yes, you should work hard and be responsible, but not at the cost of love, not at the cost of human connection, not at the cost of actually living your life. When someone loves you, when someone wants to build a life with you, that's rare and precious and should be treasured, not sacrificed for a promotion or a raise or career momentum. Work will always be there. There will always be another project, another opportunity, another goal. But love doesn't wait. People don't wait forever. The woman who loves you at 25 might not be there at 35. The man who wants to build a life with you at 30 might not be available at 40. The opportunities for connection have expiration dates, and once they pass, they don't come back. I sacrificed love for career repeatedly, deliberately, thinking I was making smart choices. I was wrong. They were the stupidest choices I've ever made. They led to a life of achievement without fulfillment, wealth without happiness, success without meaning. I'm 67 years old with millions in the bank and no one by my side, and I would trade every single dollar to go back and make different choices. but I can't. So all I can do is warn you, don't make my mistakes. Choose love. Are you enjoying this story? Then consider supporting the channel by subscribing. Take a look. 94% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you're part of that group, take the opportunity to subscribe now. It's free, and you'll keep receiving amazing stories. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. Choose people. Choose connection. Before it's too late. Because it becomes too late faster than you think, and then you're old and alone and dying with nothing but regrets and money that can't save you from the hell of a wasted life.